The Fearless Curious Soul. Goldilocks Productions presents The Deep Reading. Connecting you to your soul show.
This is Suzanne Wyman, the Deep Psychic. Welcome. Thank you for joining me today. Think about what we're talking about today in the commentary and see what part of it you relate to. Excuse me. I want you to feel included and know that if this conversation resonates to you and who and what you are as an individual, then you are part of something greater than yourself. The universe is connecting to you, answering your questions, answering your prayers. So today is a sacred day. Today is Maundy, Thursday, the Last Supper, and Passover. And I want to welcome you, and I want to take a moment to just observe that this is really a holy day together. Before I started the show today, I took and I pulled a card and asked what the message was about, and the message was about fellowship. Today, we talk about how we belong to each other and how we are connected with one another, and that's what's really important today. So the theme of our show today is going to be a question that was posed to me by a lifelong friend of mine, and this is the question, and what are we to do now in these times to keep mentally, spiritually, intelligently engaged when all else is shut down? The most obvious answer to that is, of course, that we are still connected in our spiritual selves, and we are connected to something greater than ourselves, and we don't know why this has happened, but we trust and we move forward, and we keep our thinking positive. But the primary thought is that we move forward. Today I have a wonderful guest with me. I have somebody who keeps me inspired, helps me to touch back to some of my most primary pieces of information, foundation information that I often don't think about. I think sometimes I just get so involved in work. So anytime my guest is ready to be dropped into the live call, please just drop this person in with me. Sometimes I think in my work, because I'm consistently working on a daily basis or at least 5 days a week, I think sometimes I have forgotten some of the more primary conversations, some of the conversations that are based in the elements of balance and based in the foundation. So this person has given me a way to look at that in a way that makes me feel good, and it also reminds me that the beginner's mind, the open beginner's mind, is often the one that achieves the most and the greatest, because that open mind process is really what is most receptive. Okay, so let's see where my guest is. No guest. Okay, let's see. So there's sort of like a simple concept at play. And Charles Fillmore, the founder of Unity, he wrote a great book called The 12 Powers of Man. And in there, he takes and he assigns an apostle to each one of the chakras. And Sharon, are you there? Sharon, are you there? Sharon, are you there? Sharon, are you there? Sharon, are you there?
Hello? Hello? Unmuted. Muted. Muted.
Okay. Hi. Sharon, are you there? 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 I have an echo. So let's see if I can get her. Sharon, are you there? 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 Okay, we've got a technical glitch. All right. So what he did was that Charles Fillmore took the concept of each one of the apostles, and he assigned each one of them with their power and their strength to each one of the chakras. And so I always find it the most interesting that when we get to the solar plexus chakra, that it has three separate points to it. It has the point on the back of it, it has the point in the front of it, and it has the point to the side, and it's order, wisdom, and strength. And so when we take and we think about the use of our chakras, this is the last chakra that addresses our animal nature issues. So after that, we evolve into our next chakra, and that becomes our heart energy, and that's the first time that we cross over into the process of being spiritual, in the sense of the energy entering into our body as a spiritual being. So I think that it's an age process. Hi, Sharon.
Hi, Suzanne.
Oh,
I couldn't figure out how to get to you, but I did, finally.
You know, it's just been a little bit nerve-wracking today because everybody is using conference calling systems, Zoom systems, and using their phones by far more than they have at any other time. So we're just going to go with it, though. We're fine. And you made it, so that's the part that really matters, and I appreciate you so much for doing that.
Oh, well, I'm glad to be here.
Oh, good. Very good. So you and I have had a couple of conversations, a couple of short telephone conversations, and you're somebody who has a lot of experience in talking with psychics and using their advice to improve your world and to improve your own personal life. So just any story, the first story that comes to mind, would you like to share that with us, please?
In regards to a psychic?
A psychic that helped you make an improvement in your life.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. Well, I have several.
Good.
Let's see. After my sister-in-law passed away from cancer at age 50,
wow.
My husband and I had a bed and breakfast in Mendocino.
Wow.
And my daughter had given me a psychic's number that a friend of hers used. So I called her, and because I had passed over before, I kind of wanted to know if she knew where she was or if she could contact her.
Okay.
And so I called her, and she did tell me that she had passed over and that she was in a very light city of light, and that she was helping people on the other side, on this side,
right,
with other people who were with her. They are helping the earth. And she told me that I would see a hologram of her. And she told me a bunch of other things about some people who worked in the end and what would happen to them. She's more of a medium.
Right.
And that we had our end for sale then, and that we would sell it, but there would be a problem with a brother-in-law, and I was only thinking of my own brother-in-law. She said he was a lawyer, which my brother-in-law was.
Oh.
Anyway, I diverse. Anyway, we did sell the inn, and there was a problem with the lady's brother who was a lawyer, which was interesting. But we eventually made it and sold the inn. And then one night I was laying in bed after we had finished up at the inn, and all of a sudden I saw this white energy come toward me. It was, like kind of like the ghost you see at Disneyland or you see on TV. It's a bunch of white fluff moving toward me. And I looked at it. I was kind of frightened because this had never happened to me before. And all of a sudden I looked down and her hands were so clear that I could almost reach out and touch them. In her hand, she was holding like a doll, and the doll had red eyes, and it scared the heck out of me. And as soon as I got scared, this hologram just backed up and disappeared. And so I called the psychic to tell her what had happened, and she said she was giving me a message that my guardian angel is always with me and looking out for my well-being.
Oh, that's so helpful. So the best part I liked of your story was the part where you said the psychic told you that there would be a problem with a brother-in-law, and you thought it was yours, but the psychic was right. There was a problem with the brother-in-law, just not in
right.
expected
not
way.
The one I thought.
Right. It is so interesting when that happens, and
right.
I think the thing that's interesting is that you spotted it as soon as it happened. You go, oh, this is what the psychic was talking about. You understood, and
right.
And the other thing is that, you know, saying goodbye to your sister-in-law because she died so early in her life, you know, it's hard. And I think, this is my own opinion, I think that sometimes those messages and those visions and everything else come to comfort us in order to tell us we are eternal beings. There is another place that we go to, and that when we trust that, we get those messages, we get that comfort, we get that support, we get that clarity. So that the beauty of that story is really interesting, because you would have to be very open in order to receive it, because even though you were afraid, it didn't stop you from going through the whole experience.
Right.
So that's good.
I know that when I passed over to the other side, the first thing when I came back that stayed with me was that I didn't go anywhere. I was the exact same as I am on the earth. I felt the same. I was the same. It's like people think when they die that's the end of them.
Right.
But I was exactly the same.
Right.
Except I had no pain, and it was just unbelievable euphoria.
Right. Right. So that's the individual who fears death is the individual who doesn't believe that there is an eternal experience. And the individual who goes towards the light and enters into the light and becomes part of the cosmos, the universe, the Christ consciousness, whatever you refer to it as, there's many ways of addressing that process, goes to that process and experiences it with an open and joyous heart. But that is one of the most interesting things in listening to you talk, is how open and joyous you are in your life experience and how you are very accepting. So, do you have time for one more story with us, Sharon? It would be lovely. Just one more story that you like. Something uplifting.
Oh, that I like?
Yeah, that you like.
That applies to psychics or any other story?
Well, that
Which
applies
one?
to psychics.
Okay.
The one that applies to psychics, you know, we need that one because we're, you know, I'm a psychic. So let me do your reading. Let me do your reading really quick on the air. First of all, you're somebody who really understands structure, foundation, and what is the most important things in this world. For you, you always look for what is the direction of a process. Is it north? Is it south? Is it east? Is it west? So you're very much concerned with the process of foundation. You have been able to be a risk taker just because you get a great deal of freedom in your own thinking of once you get the foundation in place, then you feel incredibly free. You're not afraid of moving, you're not afraid of life itself, and you're not afraid of dying. You treat each day as if it was your last day, but you would have to live with what you did in that day forever. So that's a very high spiritual vibration energy to live at. It's a huge commitment. Very few people can do that. In fact, there's a religious process founded on that thinking. And so your ability to take and move and use light and to help people heal is your gift. And so my wish for you on this day, because today is a holy day, my wish for you is that you find a receptive group that is appreciative of your talent and your healing capabilities and embrace you, and that you find a place to do, that piece of work, which is really what your gift is about.
Oh, thank you. That's so beautiful and true.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. So we've got time for you to share one more quick story. It really goes quick when you're in a conversation. Isn't it quick? We're almost done.
Yes, it's quick. It's very fast. Let's see. Do you want that psychic or another psychic?
Whatever psychic you want. You really understand how to work with psychics.
I don't know, but it just happened. And it just, I don't know that I do, but I trust them.
Yeah.
This psychic also told me that someone who worked for us in the inn, who was a godsend to us, would have 2 girls. And this person told me she never wanted to have children. Mm-hmm. And so years passed, and I just forgot all about it. And one day she called me up and told me that she's pregnant.
Wow.
And then a few years later, she was pregnant again, and she ended up having 2 girls, which was absolutely amazing.
Oh, well, isn't that interesting? We do change as we age, and our circumstances change. Our opinion about what's important and what we want do change, so that is a good thing. And Sharon, you've been really good. You've been open. I want to ask you for one last thing before I let you go, because I know you got things you got to go do and take care of. What would you say if you were to take and give somebody a small piece of advice about how to receive a psychic reading? What would your one piece of advice be? Because you certainly are a practiced hand at listening to psychics.
Well, a therapist told me when I was going to see a very famous psychic called Avery, who was President Reagan's wife's psychic, who contacted her all the time for information.
Right.
And I told my therapist I was going to see her. I felt confident and assured because she was a famous psychic that someone important that I respected used. And so she told me not to give her any information, to just let her be with me and read me. Don't ask her any questions, just, to be myself.
Okay.
I don't know if other psychics appreciate that or not, but that's what she told me. That's what happened, and she ended up giving me a lot of good guidance and advice.
Yeah, I like the fact that people say, I don't want to give you any information, because people say that. But some people take it one step too far, and they act like a stone, and they don't interact with me, and they don't say, well, yeah, that's true, or they don't say, well, yeah, I understand what you're talking about. I don't really need a lot of feedback. I need a little bit. But some people take that piece of advice there too far. Your therapist added the one piece that's very important for you to be yourself. And so I know you. And so you could smile and you could engage and you could nod. You don't give any information away when you do that. You're simply acknowledging. Right? So you don't just sit there like a stone and say, I'm not going to give anything away.
No.
Okay.
But she didn't want me to have like a list of things I want to know. I think something like that.
Yes, that's very true. Because the psychic doesn't know where it's going to go with the information. We generally go with what is most pressing in your mind, and then that's how we work forward. So
I see.
Yeah, so like whatever's most pressing in your life, we talk about that first. And so if before you came to get your psychic reading you were concerned about your dog being left alone at home, we're going to talk about your dog first. And you're like, the dog is fine, I'm okay. So I think sometimes people don't really think about what energy is like when it comes off of a person. And then we ask the person to concentrate on what they want to talk about, and the first thing people say is they go, well, I have so many things I want to talk about. That might be true, but concentrating on the thing that is most important to you is the thing that's going to be most rewarding. So your therapist's advice was good, because if you don't have expectation, you're more open, and then that energy does flow.
Very informative. That's really good information. Yes.
Yeah. So, but you're naturally open, and you said the very key word, which is that you trust psychics, and good psychics, obviously. There is no way to generate the energy. I mean, it just happens, and you can move forward. If somebody's the difference between a professional and an amateur psychic is that a professional psychic can always find something to talk about with an individual, even if they're closed off, rigid, and opinionated, and have high expectations. That doesn't sound very nice.
No, it does. It does. I understand.
Yeah, I know you do, yeah. But the more open and receptive an individual is, the easier it is for us to access information. And so it goes in layers. And as the thing I think that people do is that I've had people say to me, no, you're absolutely wrong. And then at the end of the reading, they say to me, they go, in the beginning when you talked about this, that's what I really want to talk about. And I look at them and I think, well, why did you say no to me then? The only thing you can say to a psychic that doesn't throw their energy off is that you can say, that could be true. I just need to think about it for a minute. And then that way I don't close the door on that. Because what's the point of me pushing harder to pull the energy out if that person says no? I mean, as soon as the person says no, I just close that door of energy and move to the next point.
That totally makes sense. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Sharon, if I need somebody to talk with me and visit and explain how psychics work, would you be willing to come and talk to me again?
Sure, I'd love it.
Oh, good.
I would love it.
All right. Well, thank you so very much. You've been fabulous. And
thank you for being you.
You're welcome. You're so sweet. Thank you. Have a great day.
You too.
Okay.
Bye. I enjoyed it.
Oh, good. Okay. That was a lot of fun. Actually, it was a lot more fun than I ever expected. So that was kind of an enjoyable little process. I've got another person who's going to be coming on and having a conversation. Let's see if we can find that person. It's a day of some technical difficulties going on, so nothing is really moving very smoothly. But, that doesn't actually really mean anything. It just means that, life is in session. So, let's see, what do we got? Okay. All right, let's do an astrology update. Let's do the full moon astrology update. That would be absolutely fabulous. Hello, Katharina.
Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good.
What do we got going on today in the land of the full moon of astrology?
Well, I don't know why I'm still amazed by this every time I do it, but you pulled the card for fellowship, and that's the theme of today. And of course, our full moon in Libra is all about, how we can come together and support one another. So you tell me how much you want me to break down and go into the root. I like breaking down the moon and the sign and what all that means, but we can also just talk about the aspect. So you tell me how far you want to go.
Go. Just go.
Okay. All right. So moon in astrology governs our emotions. In your birth chart, it indicates what provides us with a sense of home and security. It's governed, it relates to the mother. We regard it as a female planet. It talks about our intuition and, really relates to our feelings and emotions. And, a lot of our feelings and emotions can come from past experiences. So it's kind of opposite the sun, where the sun is, what reflects our present here and now. The moon kind of goes into our past a little bit. So we have moon, transits. It changes every 2.5 days, and it goes through all 12 zodiac signs within a month, right, within 27.5 days. So, a lot of people, I think, identify with moon energy, and we can feel it when there's a full moon. I mean, even, there's a kind of a common thing in hospitals or, babies are born around the full moon, or ER rooms are full around the full moon. So I think in common pop culture, it's a pretty identifiable astrological aspect, right? So, and it's identifiable every night, right? We see it. So Libra is all about balance. The Venus is its ruling planet. It's the 7th sign of the zodiac, which means it's opposite Aries. So where Aries is that first sign of the zodiac and really about the most personal, Libra focuses on how we relate to others. So Aries is about self. Libra focuses about how we relate to our relationships, basically. So, and I like Libra. It's, diplomatic. It's all about harmony, right?
Right. It is also interesting that Libra doesn't have a placement on the body. Talk about the placement that Libra has. Every other sign has a placement on the body, and Libra doesn't have a place on the body.
Oh. I mean, well, so Libra is kind of interesting because it's not it's not really a sign. It's not really what's the word I'm looking for? It's in between Virgo and Scorpio, right? So some astrologers would say it's a combination of those two stars in our constellation. It's a combination of those two constellations. That's the word I was looking for. So I actually have that Libra resides in the body in the kidneys.
Okay. So when we picture it in the ancient format, it was pictured as a set of reins that you take and you grab the reins. And then later on we took and we said Libra was the one who ruled justice. So it is kind of an interesting, it's more, obviously starting a law practice in Libra would be more beneficial for the law practice. It would be more beneficial for the clients. It would be more beneficial for the judicial system. It would create a lot more balance. But it is taking the reins. So people that have, Libra, they have to pay attention to their kidney energy, right?
Yeah. So, and I think that's it's interesting because that's kind of a natural balance in the body, right? Like we have two kidneys. It's a balancing organ.
Yes.
And they have to work together. So, so with this moon in Libra, it's all about us to start thinking about how we can come together to support one another rather than getting stuck or bogged down in our own personal lives. So this is a super full moon, and so it actually occurred yesterday and the day before, but with moon aspects, we kind of feel them a few days before and a few days after.
Right.
So, it's just kind of a time to, Go ahead. It's just a time to pay attention to our emotional state and just kind of be aware of all of our self-care and then relationships with others.
Okay. What a great emotional reminder for what's going on today, that we need to keep ourselves balanced. It isn't just about us, it's about other people too. And that's good. Thanks for having a conversation with us. And is there a specific aspect that is about today? I thought Thursday was Mars. Thursdays were ruled by Mars.
So there is a Mars square Uranus that's going on currently, but I was thinking about talking about that next week because we have that going on for a couple weeks.
Cool. Well, will you join me next week and share your insight one more time?
Of course.
Oh, good. Have a great afternoon. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye-bye. It's so interesting to tune into the astrology of a situation because we've been talking about the astrology of what's going on at the moment and the different stages and what we can expect and how it works for us. I've got another person on today, which was a rather, it was kind of popular with several people that I know. They wanted to listen to the animal communicator. So I've asked our animal communicator to join us and to share her insights with us. And
hello.
Hey, Kara, how are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
Really good. Introduce yourself. Tell people how they can get in touch with you and your name and everything.
Sure. I'm Kara with Pets Eye View, spelled out the full I, like EYE, PetsEyeView.com. And they can reach me at 949-282-3506 on the web, on Facebook, on Instagram. And I'm just here to talk with you today about how, when we're all in a little bit of a lockdown, if you will, keep our animals healthy and energetically and emotionally healthy and take care of each other.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. So, those of you who have anxious dogs, especially, or anxious animals, you may have noticed that when there's less going in and out of the house, that they are calming down a lot because their pack is always with them. But if you're feeling anxious because you have friends or relatives who, or you yourself are ill with COVID, for example, they may be taking on or trying to take on a little bit too much of your emotional energy. So it's important that we ground our pets just like we would ground ourselves. If you know about clearing chakras or spinning your own chakras, you need to be doing that for yourself, but also for your pet. It's also a good idea for the anxious guys to actually, I call it rubbing their butt, like just rubbing the base of their spine, because that's where they're most grounded. And if you notice, like, I don't know if you've ever had a dog who's quite alert and, like, notices every sound and never looks quite fully asleep, even when they're sort of relaxed. It's because they're usually living from their heart up. And so they're forward focused all the time, and rubbing their butts and rubbing the base of their back feet help them to feel warmer and connected to the earth. And also, if you happen to be a highly emotional person, either during this particular time or just things throw you off kilter a lot, it's really important in my practice. I emphasize the importance of jobs for animals, but the right jobs. And one of the jobs I don't like people to give their animals is to be their healers, because they don't have the same ability to ground and push out that negative energy. And it can kind of sometimes make them not feel good. So I like people to sweep their hands over the animal's body without touching the fur, but just sweep their hands over it and say, thank you for being my friend, but my emotions are not your emotions, and please get rid of them every day. Okay. So those are a couple of tips.
I like it. I really like it. So you're telling us that a dog or a cat's first chakra is centered at the base of their spine, and that when we take and we talk to them and we pet them softly and we give them a little back end rub, a little back rub there, they get more grounded, they get less anxious, and they get more calming. And you're right. I don't think it's really, I think that sometimes animals make an agreement to help and be a healer, and I think that sometimes people ask too much of an animal. In my observation, and I am no way an animal communicator like you, my observation is that animals don't have quite as many chakras as humans.
That's true. I think that's true. And, we're not asking people to become chakra experts on this call, certainly, but just knowing that, even for ourselves, we ask ourselves to walk out and ground our feet in the barefoot grass, right? The animals need their feet rubbed to be reminded, and to feel connected to you, but not like they're responsible for you. If people go to my website at petsiveview.com, you're prompted to download an ebook, and it's called Give Your Pet a Purpose. And it talks about all the purposes that animals will take on, even when you haven't decided what their purpose is, and things about naming and the importance of naming, and how to give a very anxious animal the kind of job that will make them feel successful. Because, we've all had animals once in a while where we're like, oh, the poor thing is always the back of the pack, right? And so, how do you make that animal feel awesome, even though they're not going to be your rock star, right? And amazingly, when you do that and you give that animal 20 items of praise a day for just being the one that sits perfectly on the bed, all of a sudden they might be ready for a more powerful job in 6 months. It's really interesting.
That is really interesting because the animal, they want to be part of a pack, and that is what's most important to them. They're very much like humans. Humans want to belong, and so everybody has their position of how they feel they belong, and if you receive acknowledgement, support, and rewards for it, then you become more powerful. Kira, you're a great conversation. Come on and do this with me again. You're fabulous.
I would love to. I would love to.
Thank you so much. All right, have a great day, and I will talk to you really soon.
Okay, bye, Susan.
Bye-bye. Okay, if you want to call me and talk to me, you can call me at 714-400-7384, and it's Suzanne Wyman. Always looking for interesting people to call and talk to on my show, so today's show has gone, actually considering some of the technical problems, has gone really amazingly smooth, so it's really good. Love the animal communicator conversation. Humans are so reliant on animals, and we really need to take and give them something back. Tell them they're doing a good job. Tell them that we love them. Tell them they're perfect just the way they are. Sort of things you would like to hear too. So I've got another person who's going to have a conversation with us, and I hope this is enjoyable. And let's see if we can get my next caller going. Okay.
Hello, Suzanne.
Hey, Dorothy. How are you?
I am wonderful. How are you?
Really good. Dorothy,
this is
introduce
a
yourself.
fabulous show, Suzanne. This has been so fabulous.
You're so good.
The moon in Libra and the animal communicator and your reading with Sharon. My God, that's fabulous.
Oh, thank you so much.
I'm really enjoying it, and thank you for having me here. I really appreciate it.
Oh, that's wonderful. Tardy, introduce yourself. Tell people how they can get in touch with you. Introduce yourself. You're wonderful.
Thank you. My name is Dorothy Wesley, and my website is DorothyWesley.com, and I have another website called tame.monkeymind.com, And
Love it.
and I send out a monthly love letter called Love from the Lotus World. And if anyone wants to sign up, they can just sign up on my website. And in that, I talk about the forces at play in the universe and what's going on and kind of my read on what I think is going on out there in the world. And so I just kind of send that out to people all over the world. And that's that's what I do. I call myself a modern-day oracle, not a psychic, but a modern-day oracle, indeed.
Okay.
And,
yeah, that's kind of an interesting thing, because I don't think I ever really asked you to specify that, but I kind of have as soon as you said that, I thought, I really have a specific question. So you share a lot of information, and what do you, I think that astrologically we're going through a change. I think, it's a huge shift, and I think that people are afraid of change because, change is change. You just don't know what's going to happen next.
Exactly right.
But really, when we really trust the universe and we really believe the universe, we take and try and use this time, in a way that's productive and keep ourselves on track. And remember that, fellowshipping with other human beings, even though change is going to come, welcome the change, don't welcome the change, doesn't matter, the change is going to happen. It's going to be different. It's been a long time since we've had this aspect hit the planet, so it's kind
true,
of
true.
So it's interesting.
Something I heard, Suzanne. Something I heard from an astrological standpoint. I was at a astrology program earlier last year, and that's one of the things they talked about. Is there's so many cycles, planetary cycles that are coming together between 2020 and 2030. So this is just kind of the beginning of a huge transformation. Pluto evidently is in a place where it was, at the American Revolution, and Uranus and Taurus is at a time of the Great Depression. And so there's these kind of cycles, small and large, that I think are really impacting the transition that we're going through at this time. And that's why what you do is of such value to people to help keep them on a broader scale about what it is that they need to know, that you have that ability to put out there to them. And I think that is just marvelous and wonderful and something that's so needed by so many people. So I love that you're doing this show, and I really think it's important that others learn more about your abilities and how important it is that you can provide that support and help to others.
It's an interesting thing because I think that when we really connect, and we really connect to the people who appreciate us, and we really share our knowledge, then we truly are in the gift zone. And when we're in the gift zone, then we have opportunity to demonstrate our area of genius and expertise. So,
indeed.
It's an interesting cycle. So you change things, you change the order of things, what is the most important thing, and you focus on something different. People, have a tendency to think, well, it should be the way it was, and that's what they want. They want it to be the way it was, but nothing really is ever the way it was, So, even if it's a small thing, I've heard women say, well, I really want to be the same size that I was when I was 22. Now they're talking to me in their 60s, and I say, you know what? You can obtain your ideal weight, but you're not going to be the same size and shape that you were 40 years ago. There's something better, but it's not going to be the same. So
no.
Yeah.
That's what I think we're experiencing right now. Is this shift, and people say, I can't wait till we get back to normal, and I am constantly reminding people there will be no normal. There will be a new normal, what I'm calling the new reality, as we change and as we step into our compassionate nature and our kindness and our love, and we put those kind of energies out there in the world. That's where it's going to shift. That's why we won't have any normal. We'll have a new reality. Now, there's going to be people that will not go there. There's certainly people that don't care about that. They want to get back to consumerism or whatever it is that they were doing before, and that's okay. But there's going to be this, in my opinion, there's going to be this separation of worlds and there's just going to be, well, that's a big shit that's going on.
So, it is kind of it's such a, we've gotten into such a complicated world where I even hesitate to say what I think really I'm observing. But I did notice that when we went into Mercury retrograde this year, the first thing that happened is that there were several people that died. I mean, I think we were 12 hours into it, and I got phone calls from different people. And I thought, wow, this Mercury retrograde, we're going to see more people die during this retrograde than we probably ever will see again. And now I don't really know if that's true. And these were not people that died of the current pandemic. It was people that died. They died. So, it's when you understand that you're an eternal being and that you really don't die and that you are part of the universe and you go forward, then there really isn't any fear. The pain is with the people that remain behind because they want the life with that person, and life is for the living. And that I personally don't do medium work, not because I don't believe in it or I don't think it has any value. I've just seen that in my own life. I have so much work in dealing with the living that I just have kept my focus there. I'm not saying I haven't had messages where I gave somebody a message, an angelic message, or I gave them, a message from the other side. But as far as in my daily practice, no. I keep it right here in the living. So I've droned on and on. Talk about, first of all, I want to say the monkey mind, and I don't even know if this is right, but the monkey mind is that part of your animal nature that knows the right thing to do without having to really think. So that's how I think of the monkey mind. And you have to correct me and explain that to me.
Well, I'm not sure it knows the right thing to do.
Physically.
But it may, physically, What I call the monkey mind, right? The monkey mind. What people say that's the monkey mind? Well, to me, it's that typical mind chatter. Things to do, fears to fear, childhood dramas to relive, worries to have, judgments to make about other people, ourselves, and creating what-if scenarios. Well, I could have, would have, should have said this, and if I'd have done this, and if I'd have done that.
Right.
And, you get off into that stuff. Now, the monkey mind is a Buddhist term, which really blew my mind because I've been using it for years when I found that out. And what it means from the Buddhist perspective is unsettled, restless, indecisive, uncontrollable. Buddha said that the mind is like a bunch of drunken monkeys. So, we got a lot of stuff going on. And I think given the times that we're living in right now, too, that, and this is very important that we keep our monkey mind at bay. We keep it at bay. We keep our wits about us, and we keep the monkey mind at bay, because that monkey mind can really do a lot to disturb our inner peace, say. And so I've got a Facebook page called Tame That Monkey Mind, and I've been putting up for the last, 5 weeks. I've been putting up every week. I've been putting up a Dear Monkey Mind letter. And this week was, Dear Monkey Mind, as we traverse this new reality, please quietly eat some bananas. Please, thank you. So it's like, practices, it's a practice, of course, and the practices are that we keep it tamed down, that we don't let it run away. We have 50,000 thoughts a day, and we need to manage and monitor our thoughts, and managing and taming that monkey mind is part of that. And that to me is part of your theme for today with regard to fellowship. And what do we need to do in these tough times, intellectually, spiritually, to bring ourselves to a place of peace and calm as we go through these changes? And that part of that, in my opinion, is taming that monkey mind.
Okay, so I remember now you and I got off tangent, but you and I talked about the monkey mind being the inner critic. The inner critic is the one who brings about doubt, makes you question yourself, and so the tamed monkey mind it serves in a way that's productive. It doesn't divert you with, like you said, childhood dramas and unfinished business from the childhood, the inner critic. You know, here's the interesting thing that I have experienced in talking with people, unless they've spent some real time evaluating themselves. I say to them, I go, when you say that, and I hear them say something, they say a rote quote or a rote remark. They say it just in a rote way. I say, who is that who is that says that? And they go like this, they go, I don't know what you're talking about. And I'm like, you know, you say that. And they go, well, I never thought about that. And I said, well, who said that to you? And then generally speaking, not always, because some people are very blocked, I say, oh, well, you know, my mother always said that to me. My mother, my grandmother, my father, whatever. Some other person said it. And they're completely unaware that they're not using their own voice, and they're just making this rote remark, you know. So as an observer, because it's not nice to correct people, criticize, because correction is a criticism. If you understand somebody, you don't need to say, well, you didn't pronounce this word correctly. That's a criticism. Corrections are criticism. If you don't understand somebody, you say to them, oh, I don't know what you're talking about. What's that mean? You're friendly about it, okay? But I found that people, they're just completely unaware that they are speaking from somebody else's voice, and they don't know that that other voice is, you know, actually holding this conversation. And they are completely unconscious. And what can we do with the unconscious, you know, it's that philosophical question, the unexamined life is not worth living.
Right. Well, you know, Suzanne, I've come to the realization from my point of view, that that there are people who just, that's what they want. They don't want to find out who they are. They don't care. And it's like, well, okay then, you know. And I'm like, wow, I'm always amazed, because to me that's the curiosity about life and what's going on is like my blood. And then when you find someone that just, no, that's got nothing to do with me. I don't want, no. You know? So it's like, oh, okay. Really?
I really don't mind if there's a person who's unconscious, unaware, and they're sleeping and they're sleepwalking through life, and they're paralyzed, they're hypnotized, whatever you want to call it, okay?
Yep.
But it's unconscious. I'm fine with that. But don't ask me to solve your problems, you know.
Indeed.
Do not ask me to solve your problems. But you've talked about this now in a way that I really, really understand. The Buddha quote. And Buddha, I have one of Buddha's favorite, one of my favorite quotes from Buddha is he talks about the dream state is the only state where we are completely free of illusions.
Nice.
So I think that in this work towards spirituality and the understanding of spirituality and our unconscious state and how we're connected to the universe, because the universe does support us, I think a lot of people really have ignored the value and the meaning of what your dreams are about. So, that's my encouragement for today is to try dream journaling, recording your dreams, even if they don't make sense to you. I consider myself an expert at dream interpretation, and so that's the monkey mind doesn't show up in the dream, by the way.
No, but they are bizarre. I can't wait to hear more about that from you. My dreams are bizarre.
Are they really?
Some of them. Yeah,
cool.
Some of them. Yeah.
Let's do one.
Yeah, they're out there.
Do one. Okay.
Well,
today's show had a couple of technical difficulties. We got started a little bit late, so I don't actually know where I am in my time frame. So if you would, I think that it really is about supporting one another. It is about being kind and loving and enjoying the fellowship. I feel like I've connected with you, even though I've been on the telephone with you. I haven't met you in person. There's a great deal of passion in the dialogue between you and I enjoy it so much. So if you were to leave us with one wonderful thought, what is your one thought that you would leave us with?
One wonderful thought.
Yeah.
I'd say check your monkey mind.
Okay, how?
Well, there's many ways you can meditate, but the most important thing, I think, is bringing yourself back to the present moment, because the monkey mind wants to take us on rides. And so the best thing is, no, get back here, let's be here now. So you look at your desk, you look out the window, you look at the rain, you look at whatever you're looking at, and bring yourself back to the present moment. And that stops the monkey mind. It'll start up again, but you got to bring yourself back to the present moment again. So that's what that's
the present
off the top of my head.
No. Eckhart Tolle talks about that. Charles Fillmore talks about that. Michael Beckwith.
It's been around for a long time. Ram Dass in the Be Here Now book back in the 70s. Yeah.
Right. What about Buddha?
That's where I first heard it. Buddha. Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about. You've talked about visual cues, but I think that one of the ways I bring myself back into the present is through being able to breathe, because it sounds so, taking a relaxing breath.
Bringing your attention. Yep.
And then if you're, there are times when things are difficult, and 30 seconds later, back to that process. Go back to the breath. So
exactly.
Great advice, because truthfully, the past is gone. We can't heal it. We have to have clarity about it, but we can't heal it.
Nope.
But we really need to be present. Really need to be present, because that's all we really got. Go ahead.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I heard long time ago from Wayne Dyer back in one of his first books, The Erroneous Zones, and he talked about being in a boat. And if you're on the back of the boat, looking off the back of the boat, looking into the past, you can't direct your boat which way you're going to go. I go, isn't that cute? You can't. How can you direct your life if you're looking at the past and looking at the boat, going where you've been? Where you've been doesn't even exist anymore. The only thing that exists is where you are, right here, right now.
So let's add a little flesh to that. If you're sitting at the back of that's your boat, and the boat is you, and you're sitting at the back of the boat looking behind you, your boat, you don't know what's in front of you. You're not watching what's in front of you, and you're not able to guide it effectively.
Right.
So that is a really, really good analogy, because that puts it into, I love visual illustrations, and that's a great visual illustration. Doherty, tell anybody who's listening today how they can get in touch with you one more time, please.
Oh, please go to my website, DohertyWesley.com, or email me at Doherty, DARITY, at DohertyWesley.com. And thank you, Suzanne. I love talking to you. You are such an inspiration. Thank you so much.
Thank you. You are so wise and so wonderful and practical. Please let me know when you can join me again. It's lovely. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. All right. You are listening to Suzanne Wyman, the Deep Psychic, connecting you to your soul. You can call me directly at 714-400-7384. And I do take phone calls. So call me, talk to me, tell me how I can be of service to you and how I can make a difference in your life today. And today's primary thinking is keep your thinking positive, keep your thinking centered on what is currently going on in your life. Tomorrow will take care of itself if you take care of today. And as Doherty would tell us, tame your monkey mind. Don't let it go down the path of telling you things that aren't true or asking you to think about things in the past that don't exist anymore. Stay focused, stay present, stay breathing. And please join me again next week, and thank you for being with me. It's been a great show, and I've enjoyed having you here with me. All right, bye now.
Become a Goldilocks Productions VIP patron. Receive exclusive access to live stream special and other epic perks. Join the Goldilocks Productions VIP community today.